one thing I want to talk about. Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah.
The beta. That happened.
Yeah. Everyone in this room is a huge Star Wars fan, right?
We are. Yeah.
100%.
Played that beta.
Let's bolt the door and spend the rest of our lives in here talking about how great those fine films are.
Yeah.
Let's do that, especially those fine films, the 4, the 5, the most of the 6.
Jedi's my favorite.
Jedi's your favorite.
Yeah. I always say that. People always get mad at me, but...
no, nobody should get angry with you about that.
Yeah.
Now, Battlefront is, without question, the most genuine feeling Star Wars game I've ever played.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
the sound design, like walking alongside an AT-AT is just like nuts. Like the feet crunching in the snow.
I'm so glad you said that about the sound design, because that blew me away too.
Oh, it's phenomenal.
The John Williams score of like the kind of the more lesser known, B-side tracks.
Dude, there's a track from Shadows of the Empire in there.
Is that from that?
Yeah, which is probably what you remember it from.
I think it might be, because I was at the Empire Strikes Back soundtrack. I think it might be like a weird track from like I said, the B-sides, like it's the weird stuff. Maybe it's in a deleted scene, or it's General Raikin's talking over it or something. But yeah, like it's got all these just wonderful, like they got it so right in terms of the overall. I mean, the details, the minutia, the kind of the background stuff, but I don't know how I feel about it in terms of like
actually playing it.
Yeah,
really,
it's real fun. If it was a Battlefield game or a Call of Duty game or anything else, I probably wouldn't be playing it. And I'm playing it because it's Star Wars and it's really good. It's so well made, but I don't think it's. Like, in a weird way, I don't know if it's scratching that Star Wars itch.
No, it almost feels like if somebody took a professional team and put them on making a Battlefield mod for Star Wars. Like, almost like every now and then you download PC mods that were Star Wars oriented back in the day, and people would find ways to create stormtroopers or blasters or stick an X-Wing in the background. This is like a professional level version of that. And because of that incredible sound design and the visuals, you look at this, just seeing the stormtrooper armor and the luster on it is perfect even. Everything's perfect to that. And it's a fine running around and shoot thing. I was having a wonderful time running around shooting stuff. And for me, that's enough. But I'm a terrible FPS player. And I don't know.
You can play it third person.
You can. I'm also a terrible third-person shooter player.
So
I'm
you're bad at shooting the dudes.
Yeah, bad at shooting dudes. Really had a lot of fun running around as I'm Darth Vader. Woohoo! I can hold guys up in the air and do things. And there's AT-ATs and there's sounds. I don't know if I played a lot of Battlefront before this, and it's just something's missing spiritually there.
Man, I feel like I'm the odd duck in this room. Like, okay, so here's the thing. One of the things I always appreciated about Star Wars that I feel like the prequels lost was that the combat was always sort of rudimentary. Like it was these guys with these sort of geriatric-looking blasters. You had a couple of guys with laser sticks, and then you had a couple thermal detonators here and there. A couple little explosions went off. And to reduce that to a first-person shooter, to make it both simple and accessible, is a really smart thing to do. Like to basically say you have these 3 attributes you can add. You can have a thermal detonator, you can have this like backpack that will double as a shield, or you can have a jump button, or you can put another sort of explosive or different kind of blaster here. And I felt like, so first of all, of the 3 modes that were in there, the single player one, which is sort of like a kill wave after wave thing, kind of interesting, nothing, sort of a time waster, There was the Hoth level, which was basically massive insanity, just overwhelming.
That was so good.
Yeah, it's great.
That's the juicy stuff there.
It's 20 on 20. But for me, Drop Zone was so much fun. I absolutely love playing Drop Zone, which is basically it's like an 8 versus 8, I think it's, or 7 versus 7, whatever it is, 8 versus 8 match where you're on that new planet that you see, Sullust, that you see for like a few seconds in one of the Force Awakens trailers. And basically every few seconds or every few minutes, a pod drops from the sky, kind of like the ones that C-3PO and R2 came in on. And it lands, and you have to take it over and then protect it. And it's this very dynamic version of Capture the Flag. Now, just describing that sounds a little rudimentary and a little boring, but it's actually really fun because of the way that it's rebels versus stormtroopers. You don't really get to pick who you want to be. And you jump in there, and it's this absolute insane battle between these very intimate teams fighting over this one pivot point that one of them wins over, and then that disappears and another one drops in. And you try to capture, 4 or 5 of them in a few minutes. And this mode really, really spoke to me. It just totally grabbed me. And because of the diversity in the way you can, throw a detonator, you can shoot things up close. There's also people who can get kind of ion cannons from a distance. There's these pickups that you can get on the field that sort of flip it up a little bit. And then that jump, right? That jetpack.
Yeah.
Like watching a stormtrooper just jetpack in and start blasting you from above, or doing that to somebody else was really, really fun to me.
Okay, I think you've got a good point there. And I think that the Celis situation, in particular Drop Zone, the map design's really good.
Yeah.
Even though it's a small map, there's a lot of places to hide, a lot of angles to come from, but it still allows rapid motion. It's a really carefully designed map. But both there and on Hoth, there was something, what I felt like was missing was that I never felt like I was doing anything special. I was in a world that's beautiful and wonderful, but part of Star Wars is feeling special. Now, being a hero and being all powerful, that was neat. But when I play like Battlefront 2 and you're playing like a fleet battle thing, you're flying into an enemy ship to leap out, to take over control panel, to lower the shields, so that your team could blow it and explode the whole. Whereupon in this game, I was defending escape pods and relay stations. Even when it came to attacking the AT-AT on Hoth, I'm really just standing at a point so that a Y-wing I'm not controlling can fly in and lower a bar. And even though I realized that's all window dressing, I didn't feel like I was doing anything special.
So I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head. This feels like a really, really big budget mod. And if it's a mod that makes me care about the game, then that's fine. And like that's the thing is the beta was free. We got to play a free Star Wars game for a bunch of hours. And the game's going to come out and we'll probably still all play it, and I think it's going to have that. I've said this before. I think it's going to have that Titanfall effect, where it's a multiplayer-only game, and everyone plays it for a bunch of time and plays the same maps over and over again and shoots each other a whole lot, and probably racks up a dozen hours or so at least, but walks away from it being like, that didn't feel like much time at all, And it's like, well, if you'd been playing a campaign-based game that lasted the same amount of time, it wouldn't feel as repetitive.
Yeah, but I feel like we're and I've been doing this for a while with this game, but I'm coming around to it. But I think we're chastising this game for being something that it's not.
Right. No.
Like
let me kind of hit on this further. There's a lot of stuff that if you modded Battlefront into being not a Star Wars game, I feel like that wouldn't be that hard either. Like there's a lot of stuff in there that is just kind of an analog for Battlefield stuff. Like there's jets, there's helicopters, there's tanks, there's things that are, they're real life versions of the stuff that you're doing. What we don't have is, I was really hoping there'd be like dewbacks or wampas or just some kind of critters that are like.
I think there totally will be though.
You think so?
Yes, I think there totally will be.
I think that they're just going to be.
I think that this game is going to sell 10 million copies. I think a bunch of people are going to sign up for the season pass, and they are going to pump this thing with content for ages, because that's what they did with the Battlefield games. I think this is going to be treated very well. The fact that we got this little slice of it for free over the weekend, that was basically 3 different modes, all of which were completely different on completely different settings, and that we're going to get a dozen maps at launch and then plenty more planets down the line. I think we're going to see that. Like, I think this is going to be that huge mixtape of Star Wars stuff. Now, what it's never going to be is that sort of like, here's the story of a young moisture farmer taking over the galaxy.
We know that. But I don't want to be unfair to it. Again, it is a slice. We have to be careful there. And I want to be clear. If I had spent $60 for this, bought it, and got what I think I'm going to get out of the full game based on this impression, I would feel like, I got a good game out of this. I had fun.
Yeah.
But it's in a world where I can walk out and buy Metal Gear 5 or this. I'm going to go buy Metal Gear 5. I guess that's it.
It's simple. It's simple.
Yeah,
it's simple
it's
gameplay.
Fun
You're
and
shooting the man with the
cool
laser.
and neat. And if you can afford to buy lots and lots of games, buy this. But if this is my one big Christmas present game, no, I want something else.
See, Metal Gear was the kind of game I would sit down and I would play for 7 hours straight and go, where did the time go? But Star Wars is, I feel like this is the kind of game where I can get in 30 minutes of rounds before work. Or like get home. Like this morning
that's a good point.
This morning I saw a tweet that was like, "Oh, the beta ends in 3 hours," and I scrambled out of bed and I ran in the other room. My wife's asleep, and I turned on the coffee pot and I went in the other room and I turned it on and started playing immediately. The second it ended, I went to pre-order the season pass. Like I was
really?
I'm all in on this. I love the idea of it. I love the sound design of it. I love playing it. The graphics are great. I like that it's and people are going to hate me for this. I like that it's probably the first person shooter in a very long time. It's kind of casual and kind of easy to get into. That doesn't feel like it's constantly punishing me for not being as good as everybody else. Now, in 3 months, when everyone's destroying me in this game, I might be playing a different flute. But right now,
that level cap helps. People can only get up to 5, so they can't out-perk you, out-equip you. There's that the card system, which, by the way, this thing kind of neat.
Yeah.
One other thing I think we'd be remiss if we don't mention: the fighter combat sucks. The fighters are neat, but the fighter combat
heroes
sucks. No, the A-wings, the TIE fighters.
So I wasn't.
The fighter combat is awful.
It's a Battlefield game.
I'm not wild about the vehicles
but
in there.
this is Star Wars, so that's not okay.
Yeah. You know what else bugs me about that? Like a lot is the fact that they're not vehicles as much as they are like pickups, like power-ups.
Yeah.
Like you don't you like just crouch down and you like get in your little pose and then suddenly you're just in the ship.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to change that, but like I kind of want to be my little dude who like what's the point of having like a cosmetic version of yourself in the game, like your avatar, your rebel soldier, if you're not seeing yourself jump into your A-wing?
So do you want a thing where you're like running around Hoth and you see an A-wing and you hop into it? Okay,
yeah.
I totally agree with that.
That'd be so cool if the new ship spawned regularly.
I'd love that.
Yeah, I'm totally cool with that.
But if you're going to give me atmospheric combat in a multiplayer game, it needs to be at least as competent as, say, Rogue Squadron, which was designed in the late 90s. I mean, it stunk. And this is Star Wars, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
I felt the same. I felt the same way piloting some of the vehicles, and also, I mean, I think a problem with it was that the tutorial is completely grayed out. But I think for most people, they're not going to go through that anyway. So your ships should just fly well. I thought controlling an AT-ST was awesome.
That was the ground vehicles I was fine with.
Yeah,
it's
you're right.
It's the A-wing, the TIE, TIE Interceptor, the X-wing. Those were what felt.
I kept getting into the A-wings and flying directly into the AT-AT's head to try to knock it down because that worked on every time I had extra lives to burn in Rogue Squadron. I would do that, and it didn't work. It doesn't. It barely makes sense.
Well, that's because they non-canonically put shields on the AT-AT.
Yeah.
And by the way, Imperial Star Destroyers are not lower atmospheric.
Well, there's a lot of
what are they doing in the sky?
A lot of non-canonical stuff happening in this game. Some of it I'm okay with. Some of it I'm not. Hector Paul Bossa says, "Does it upset you that the Luke Skywalker in Star Wars Battlefront is not chronologically correct?" And what he means by that is that you see the Jedi Luke Skywalker on Hoth in his his black suit with he's already got the robot hands and everything.
He's got a green lightsaber.
And the green lightsaber. And I think the main reason they did that is to keep him sort of I was thinking about this, like, did they keep him separate from everything else that's going on and not just put him in Hoth gear? But then I remember that on Hoth he was wearing an orange jumpsuit.
Yeah, well, he wears an orange jumpsuit before that, and he has the suit that he strips down to on Dagobah, the brown thing.
Yeah.
But I think the real reason is, my guess is because Vader shows up black and gets that white snow easy, and black Luke shows up the same way, and that way with that green saber and against that blue sky and the black outfit, he's just easier to spot, which equals things out for the teams.
Also, you know what else is not canon is fighting against rebel troopers named the Juicy Balls 112.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
I mean, it's a multiplayer game. There's always going to be that level of. Thankfully, there weren't any teenagers shouting at each other on the headset mics.
This morning, I kept getting murdered by a Bieber fan. And
that guy?
He's really good. He's really good at that game.
Yeah, but yeah, no, like I guess I'm hoping that I hope you're right, Brian. I hope that the season pass stuff. I hope that they like. Some of that season pass stuff is going to be Force Awakens stuff that's actually Force Awakens stuff, not just a planet that they're showing the battle that took place on previously.
Yep.
Like the second Force Awakens is out, it would not surprise me one bit if they were like, hey, so remember that movie that everyone just saw? Well, guess what we have coming out in a month and a half? You get to fly the new orange X-Wing.
Get that Kylo Ren saber, kids.
There you go.
So, I mean, the vehicles were slightly problematic to me. I thought the gunplay was fantastic.
Yes, the gunplay's great.
I thought, like, pulling off... There were times, and I haven't done this in a while, but there were times where I'd pull off something and want to drop the controller to clap and cheer. Yeah. Like, where I was just... Because it was just this perfect moment of Star Wars where I'm looking in there's, just... Star Destroyers, and on the side there's crashed TIE fighters and X-Wings next to me. I'm in this heated battle with a stormtrooper. The blasters are making the perfect noises. It was just like perfect moments of Star Wars. And then like you get shot and it kicks you to that like loading screen for a second. And it says "Da Bieber fan" or whatever the hell it is. And it does kind of pull you out of it. I'll give you that.
But that turnaround is so sweet.
It's so
the
fast.
The fact that they're not like, oh, you're gonna count down 12 seconds because you were bad at the game and you should be punished.
And that's why I love Drop Zone, because every time I got shot in the head, I'm like, I gotta run back and protect this shit for my friends.
Yeah, it's technically impressive. The beta was I was really struck by it.
So we'll see. I mean, I'd love to check in with you guys in a few months and see if my $50 investment of the season pass has paid off. I've gone on record on the show numerous times to say that buying something preemptively before you know if it's going to be good, Batman especially, was a huge problem for anyone to put that kind of money into it because it hasn't delivered yet. But Star Wars.
Yeah. You know what? I like.
Has Phantom Menace taught you nothing?
I'm kind of hoping that my lowered expectations and sort of preemptive underwhelmed mist. I can't talk.
That was 7 words.
That was not a word at all. That was underwhelmed nature. Whatever. But yeah, like I hope that it makes me overwhelmed with how cool the game is when it's out. Like, I'll still play it. I'm still gonna play it. It's the first new Star Wars game we've gotten in a while. I don't know. I mean, the beta is the beta. You know, what are you gonna do? Let's hope they tweak some stuff and we get a Wampa in there.
November 17th, full version
coming up real soon.